gives me fucking problems.
You're welcome.
Fucking shit. And that's 2 times a week anymore. Dear Lord in heaven.
Well, you got to remember also, like, when I'm here, that's usually when we're experimenting around with shit. So
Yeah, I did that to myself.
it's usually going to cause some technical difficulties.
Once again, my name Jeff.
Even when you're not changing equipment, we're still usually experimenting around with stuff.
This is true.
So,
Why am I on the phone?
it is time to record.
It's time to record. We got some new stuff we're trying out here. I think we have a solid lead on some video stuff. It's weird that I got to fucking look at you now.
I know, I don't like it.
Because we moved the studio around a little bit, and you're probably not going to see that. So I'm going to stop talking about it. But there'll be cameras here soon. I think we got a pretty solid setup we're working on.
Yeah, we turned the studio upside down. The floor's on the ceiling's on the floor. It's all fine.
It's all the same color, so I mean, good luck figuring it out. Which, by the way, is becoming an issue for my eyes. I'm like, I got that flag.
Sage now wants an accent wall.
Well, technically we have one. Now I'm staring at it. I don't know.
Oh, your flags. So I was down in Mexico over the weekend.
Okay.
And let's just say in excess of 120 miles an hour, they hold up.
I was going to say they do not, but thank you.
I held a solid 120 all the way down the... Yes.
Is all your material... Yeah, you don't tell me where you did that. Is all your material staying on?
The eyelets are just barely starting to stretch.
But all your material stayed on?
Yeah.
Oh, my shit peeled off.
Oh,
Mine
really?
barely says me versus me anymore.
Oh, really?
I threw that bitch away.
Mine still talks.
Perfect. Well, that's awkward.
Yeah.
Maybe mine... I think mine was experimental. So was that one. That one looks different than anything we've ever made.
I think mine was the one that got a little warped.
But it got warped because of extra heat.
Yeah.
Which apparently did it some good.
Probably.
Material's like, we're good. Trust me. We're fucking good.
We're holding on. Jesus, we get it.
There's nothing more you need to do. I promise you. We're about to shrivel.
We understand.
Oh, fuck. Well, we're at a bit of a time crunch, but we should be okay for a good episode.
Yeah, good 2.5 hours. We got this.
Fucking Christ. I need the drink. I mean, I think one of the things I think we're just going to dive into is kind of what I was bitching about when I got home was, well, this is going to ruffle some feathers if people listen to this, and it's not about anybody specifically. It's not, and I don't want anybody to take it that way, but it is going to fucking ruffle some feathers for sure, but I really think it's like super important, and I even still have to check myself every day, you know, just when people can talk to you in such a way that it makes you feel like they're doubting your every ability to make a conscious adult decision in that moment.
Yeah, 100%.
And I want so bad to respond incorrectly. It angers me to my core when people insist that what they're saying is 100% correct. 110% correct. See, I can't even talk right. And that what you're talking about is just not going to work, or it's not correct, or whatever the case may be. And I think it's super important that we all, you know, listen to the fucking shit that you're telling people and listen to the way you're talking to people.
Yeah, and I think that you know, what you're getting at there of being able to listen to what people are saying and listen to what you're saying to others, I think that comes from being a little bit more self-conscious about, like, what you're saying, and, you know, at least giving a shit a little bit about how that's going to make somebody feel, because I have to catch myself all the time with it. Like, I mean, my boss at work, he calls me Google, because he says that, like, if there's a question to anything, I've always got an answer. And
I can see where that's not necessarily the best thing.
And he means it in the best way. I mean, he doesn't mean it as, like, I'm trying to be like a know-it-all or anything like that.
Right.
But it's one of those where like I realize sometimes my opinion, even though I'd like for it to be 100% the way, it's not always the only way.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to realize and take that step back and be like, all right, maybe like at least, so I've started, especially with, you know, doing training and stuff like that, I've started articulating to people of, hey, this is the way that I like to do things. But there are definitely other ways that'll get it done. And I mean, to go back to the sayings, since me and you both like sayings, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
I was thinking it because I just had that conversation with somebody about it at work.
And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's pretty much where you're going with that is, you know, just because you're having a disagreement of what way something should be done doesn't mean that either one of you is wrong. It's just a different way of doing it.
And the way my mind works when it comes down to shit like this and when this happens is like, I feel like I'm pretty open to suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Like in general, I'm so open to suggestion, and I want to be able to have that conversation and humor whatever it is that you're telling me, and you know, have my own fucking thoughts and inquisitions about it, and that's normal. But when you draw the line between suggestion and insisting, you know, and yes, we're speaking of a giant gray area because there are going to be times. There are times where probably should just listen, you know, and you are being stubborn or things like that. But I think 90% of the time, if there's several different paths you can choose to handle a situation, then being an asshole and saying this is what you need to be fucking doing, I think you should fucking sit the fuck down.
Yeah.
And
take a step back.
take a step. This is my hand that I've been dealt. So in when it comes down to it, I'm going to pick which path it is. Your suggestions are definitely worth it, but you're not going to tell me and get mad when I don't choose your fucking path.
Or even, I mean, again, just speaking on general terms here, you know, with something like that, if it comes down to like a money situation, sometimes all of the suggestions can be suggested, but at the end of the day, budget's also going to play a role in that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, so to say, like, everybody gives me a hard time about the fact that I go through as much power steering fluid as I do in my truck. And part of that reason is since I don't drive it that often, I was trying to put off fixing the leak that I know where it's leaking from, because to get to it, I got to take off a part that I wanted to upgrade anyways.
Oh, so
So for me, I was trying to save up for the money for that upgraded part, but that's $250 when it's only a $30 part that I need to fix the leak. So, you know, I'm basically 10 times in how much I need to spend to make the truck stop leaking.
Mm-hmm.
And the part that I'm trying to replace isn't bad. It's just, it would work better and easier with the oversized tires because it's an upgraded steering pump.
Well, that's a fucking, in my opinion, I think anybody who's trying to, in that particular situation, anybody who's trying to push on reason, for one, or reason or a logical reason for a logical situation is fucking stupid, because that's a toy, and it's a toy that you're going to build the way you want to build it.
Yeah, but at the same time, there are times where I have to use it as a daily. I mean, I do still have to tow trailers.
It's true, but it's manageable under your knowledge.
Yeah.
So why the fuck, you know?
Yeah, every time I get in it, I just got to put a quart of power steering fluid into it.
This is the whole thing about what I'm saying is if somebody wants to handle a situation the way they want to handle it and it looks sketchy from your view, then let them fuck up.
Yeah.
Let them fuck up, because they obviously either A, know what they're doing, B, don't care what you have to say, or C, they know that they're going to fuck up, and it's going to happen the way they want it to happen.
I mean, yeah.
Just let them fucking make the mistake in it, and if they should have listened to you, then they'll probably come back and say, I should have fucking done what you said.
Well, I mean, look at the last time I hung out with you at your apartment.
Mm.
Do you remember what happened 5 minutes after me leaving?
I know that something happened. I don't remember what it was.
I had to call a tow truck and my wheel bearing completely gave up.
Oh,
Started spitting needles everywhere.
yeah, whoops.
And I knew that morning when I left, I was like, you know, this wheel bearing's going out, but I think I can make 300 miles on it. I made about 200, and then it gave up.
But it's just, and I tried to think about as many different degrees of having this conversation as we possibly could, because I do realize that what I'm saying is much easier said than done.
Yeah, 100%.
I do understand that when you are in mid conversation that is potentially passion driven, or you care about the person, there's a million different reasons that you could you'd be pushing your own agenda, and I get it.
So that could also go back to what we've talked about a couple episodes ago of hitting that pause button. If you realize you're getting overly passionate, and it's, obviously, yes, we all do have our side of what we feel is better.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, you got to be able to read the room and realize that, okay, is my passion for this being the way worth possibly fucking up a friendship?
Right.
So that's where you got to be like, okay, let me hit that pause button real quick. Let me dial back a minute, and then we'll reconvene in this conversation.
And that's the thing is, it's so important to just, when you realize that it starts going down that hole, and now you're insisting things in a situation you don't need to be fucking half a foot into. Take a breath.
Well, and it's also human nature. Like, once you get into that point of insisting, even if you've realized halfway through that conversation, like, oh fuck, maybe that other person's idea isn't bad, you're still going to push your issue because now you don't want to seem wrong.
Now it's pride.
Yeah.
And we are all fucking victims of that.
100%, especially as men.
Right. So I understand that part, and I get that. And to make it a little easier, that doesn't even necessarily mean that you have to back down. Not verbally anyway. You don't audibly have to back down and say that the other person's right, because I know what that does to a man. And I understand if you don't want to do that. But hey, maybe audibly back off.
But I mean, there's even a way to, I don't want to say back down because that's not really the right term, but there is a way to, like, ease the situation without backing down and, admitting that both your ideas are possible solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a simple phrase of, let's agree to disagree.
You could do that, or
I agree that both of our decisions are possible. I just disagree that yours is better.
my method that I've kind of adopted is a little bit more. I would say honestly, what I do is probably more passive aggressive. It could be looked at that way, but it's because I'm muffling myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it comes down to flare-ups, I admittedly sometimes don't have that filter. I don't have to tell you that.
No, 100%. I mean, we both are like that.
Yeah, and words are not going to go through a filter before they come out. It's just how we work. So I will sometimes just say, okay. And it doesn't mean I'm mad. Doesn't mean I'm upset. That just means I'm done.
I don't feel like I'm being listened to.
I'm not going to have this conversation because something's going to come out soon.
Nope. I don't feel like I'm being listened to either way, so...
And I understand why people get upset with that, and they do. And I've had to explain to multiple people that I'm not mad, I'm not upset, I just don't want this to get personal.
Yep, 100%.
Because I don't want to say something that I'm going to fucking regret. And it's aggressive, and it's what's the word? It's abrasive. But it's a problem-solving situation for me.
Well, and so to somebody that's, say, a stranger for lack of better terms, somebody you're not super close to that doesn't know that that's how you are or what you're doing at that point in time, yeah, it comes off very abrasive.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure it happened a couple of times when we were building the front bumper. And so that was one of those instances where we both were like, all right, well, let's pedal back for a second.
Drink some water.
Let's have a break.
Look at her and see what we can do.
Figure out where our disconnect is.
Mm-hmm.
Where my confusion is and where you're not able to convey the thoughts you're having of what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll figure out where we can go from here. And so that comes down to, I don't see that as a passive aggressive thing if you know the person.
I agree with that because you and I both know how each other operates.
100%.
So, you and I are both very cut and dry.
100, yeah.
There's no nice way to put it. Sugarcoating does not exist here.
No, not even a little.
I've tried. It doesn't work.
Sugarcoating fell on the ground. We slipped. Got pissed off even more.
It was awkward. My pants came off. Yeah. In light of what you were talking about, only because that was a good scenario to bring to this conversation was when we were building that stuff, and that stuff kept happening. I heard something the other day off of another podcast, and I should probably. It's a podcast called To Be Better.
Okay.
And they primarily stand on couple issues and how relationships should be better.
Okay.
That's their thing. I love listening. It's a husband and wife team. They're fucking amazing. Chris Burkett and
Are those the two you see pretty often on like
the
TikTok?
the bald guy who got tattoos on his face.
Yeah, and then the wife has like the face piercings and like different color hair usually.
They're super amazing to listen to. Give it a look. To Be Better podcast. They're on YouTube. They have the full video platform and TikTok clips as well. Yeah. But they had a guest on the other day that it was super cool to watch because it even blew Chris's mind. The guest said something about I'm gonna have to paraphrase because I cannot remember it word for word. But basically, men get angry because men can't cry.
Oh, I think I sent that one to you.
Yeah.
Or you sent it to me.
But
yeah.
I was like...
So basically what the guest had said is men are always taught not to cry.
Right.
And so when we get upset, instead of crying to show our emotion, we get angry because that's how men are taught to show their emotion, because when you're angry, it still feeds into the I'm tough.
Now we get respect.
Yeah.
That's what they said. Now we get respect because I got my point across.
Yes.
And I was like, they said we do not know how to convey our feelings because we're taught not to.
Yep.
So we do not know when it comes down to it. It felt so fucking good to hear that, by the way.
Yeah, because all of our feelings come out as anger. I could be the happiest person in the world and I want to hit something.
Growing up, dude, I used to get like angry and frustrated with people not understanding how I was. And things would just come out scrambled, dude. Like issues that I probably wouldn't have never been mad about used to come out in bundles of shit.
Yeah.
And like I never understood how to just convey one logical sentence when I was angry. And it made so much sense to hear that because we're taught fucking not to.
Yep.
And that doesn't 100% stand for men. But when people are raised that way, and that's your choice, when you have to be respected because you're backed into a corner like that and you get angry, god damn, it was enlightening to hear.
Oh yeah, and then especially being able to just like instantly see, like, you always hear the term, it was eye-opening, but literally both of their eyes,
they were like, holy shit,
got wide as fuck.
Yeah.
When it was said.
He's like, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
And we can take that situation into everything that we were just talking about. You know, it's so difficult to think about how that usually plays out because it usually goes that direction. It's so difficult to want to say, let me take the situation that's probably heading that direction and retrain this and see if we can make this better before it happens.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at, is that it takes getting to know the person. Yeah. And like truly knowing that person.
Even in a moment's notice.
Yeah, because it's one of those where if you know that person, you'll know that something's bothering them, and you can take that chance to step back. It goes back to, like I was saying, just reading that room. You notice that, okay, we're not gonna make good positive forward movement right now, so let's take a break. Just take a couple steps back. It's fine to take a couple steps back every once in a while.
Let's see if we can readjust this conversation.
But if you don't know the person, it's one of those situations where it's almost impossible to be able to do that, because if you don't know that person, you don't know what's truly going on. Because some people, when they say okay like you do, they truly do just mean okay. And so then if you're like, oh wait, well, what did I do? Then they're like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then that pisses them off. Or like for me, a lot of times if I get to that point of just saying okay and stepping back, I don't want you to say a fucking word to me. Like, give me literally 5 seconds to cool down, because I'm at that point where literally the next word that would come out of my mouth is going to be things that I don't mean.
Right.
It's being said in the moment. So I am letting you know, hey, let's back up. I'm going to take a couple steps away. You know, you can keep working if you want. I don't recommend it, because right now we're not agreeing. I'm a step away. If you keep working, it's just going to keep pissing me off. But, and it's just that different perspective, and knowing that person, and knowing the way that they tick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just knowing how that person is.
And to take that conversation a little bit further, my response, I would say 7 times out of 10 will merit the same follow-ups of conversation, and it'll usually be somewhat along the lines of, it'll start with, well, what's wrong, or what happened, or why are you upset, and we'll go down that road real quick. And most of the time I will have to explain what I just did and why I just did it. Now, what happens next is kind of a toss-up, because I've seen both ends of it. I will interact with people that will say, okay, I get it, or okay, I understand, and that situation is diffused. Pretty simple. Some people have the capability of just saying, I understand what you're doing.
Or other people, on the other hand, of like, well, why can't we just work through it?
Even more persistently than that, man. And violence takes a turn.
Oh yeah.
Because I get people that say something like, well, you can't just say that and then end the conversation. And I'm like, well, I fucking need to.
We need to, or else it's not going to end kindly.
Because people don't want to. God, I don't want to use the word respect, because I don't think it's fair in a heated moment.
Yeah.
But people don't. They don't want to adhere to what I'm asking them to do with the conversation. If I say we need to end this, some people will say, no, fuck that. Like, I'm going to keep pushing. And for me as a person, if you keep pushing, I'm just going to get more and more angry, and it's going to get personal. And that's how that's going to go. And I've told people in these moments, like, hey, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. And of course that flares a whole new conversation, and I'm just like, it's so simple. I said, okay, conversation over, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
And
give me 5 minutes.
Sometimes it works, and sometimes that relationship, whether it be professional or personal, is ended.
Yep.
And when I got to be like 29, 30, I got to a point in my life where I said, I am no longer going to explain myself to people unnecessarily, and I am not going to kiss ass to make people like me. I trained myself that whole year to no longer bottle shit up. I'm going to say what needs to be fucking said, and I'm going to do what's best for my health. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But that's all part of it.
Yeah.
And
again, to me, it really just, it comes down to being able to read that room. Because even if you don't know that person, you should be able to at least, read the body language. You
can usually tell when somebody's getting uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If you're paying attention.
Leg starts tapping. They start getting more tense.
Answers get short.
Yep.
You can,
there's so many telltale signs out there to be able to just read the room, read the body language, figure out what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And if this conversation is being had through text, yes, it does get harder because emotions aren't able to be conveyed through text. But I'd like to call it 7 times out of 10. If the answers are getting short and they've been long, somebody's probably getting pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure, there is that 3 out of 10 times that they got busy or something like that, and they're trying not to be rude and they're trying to still respond. But most of the time, no, you probably pissed them off at that point. Like if they've been giving you half paragraph answers, or a couple sentences long, and now all of a sudden it's 3 words,
And maybe even they're not mad, but maybe the conversation just needs to end.
Yeah, well, they're getting close to being mad. You know, they're getting to that point where they're like, all right, this feels like we're going in circles. This is gonna piss me off. Like you're not listening to what I'm trying to say. You only want to go with what you're wanting to say, and we're not gonna make any ground.
Man, you know what really sucks, and I have to bring it up because it's the reality of having conversation in situations like this. Is that when you start talking about people that aren't necessarily in your personal life, you start really dabbling in how much does this person really actually give a fuck about what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean that comes into it too.
Because the unfortunate issue of what's kind of happened as technology's gotten better and our phones and the way people are raised now is the attention span is, you better hold on to it.
Squirrel.
Yeah, because you're either gonna have their attention real quick or you're fucking not.
Wow, chipmunk.
Yep. And I don't know. It's just so simple for something to go be done.
But I mean, even on that point,
And they just don't care.
but even on that point of the people that not caring, or do they even actually care, is, I mean, you have trolls out there that's literally all they do is they go on and they'll literally just sit there and try and down talk what you're doing, even if it's 100% what they believe.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they believe that what you're doing is exactly what you should, the way that they think it should be done, they'll sit there and try and make you think that it's the absolute wrong way and that you shouldn't even be thinking about doing it that way.
I definitely have worked and currently do work with people that definitely get off on your reactions.
100%. There's a shit ton of people out there now that are like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the day and age that we're in, because I mean it's not as common that people do it to your face anymore,
Mm-hmm.
even though there are still some that will, but most of it is they know that they're hidden behind a computer, they're hidden behind a keyboard, so they're going to say what they want to say because you're not going to come do nothing about it.
Nope. And it just, I think I like to believe at my core I'm a very, regardless of how much I show it, I'm a pretty compassionate person. I give a shit about human life one way or the other.
Liar.
And it fucking it like hurts my soul that people do that shit to each other.
Oh yeah.
I don't understand it because I know this is probably best set for a whole nother episode. And actually I did want to talk about it until I got home today. But I have this internal battle of what men are supposed to be carved of and how we're supposed to be in this fucking tough, all-knowing fucking problem solve, whatever the fuck, all this bullshit.
Yeah.
But then there seems to be this complete other fucking side of me that I feel like from one human to another, like, where the fuck is your compassion? Why do you not care? Why do you not give a shit? I don't understand that people just trample on each other verbally, physically, and things like that. And like I said, that's a whole nother episode. But that's an internal thing that I fucking have to keep to myself every day.
Yeah.
It's just shit I don't understand. And it's why I don't interact with too many people during the day. And I choose to remove myself from it because I don't want to be a fucking part of it. It might stem deeper. It might stem deeper than what I'm realizing now that I say it out loud. And I'm not saying stem deeper in my life personally, but it might stem deeper in like my instincts and the things that I want.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand how people just get off on watching somebody get buried in a crowd of people. Metaphorically, of course.
Sometimes.
Well, yeah, physically sucks too, but when you're a part of just watching somebody get their fucking ass handed to them, and you and I have both done it to people.
Yep.
Yeah, it just, even if it's somebody that I fucking hate, when you see somebody get broke down like that, you're like, all right, let's draw the line.
Yeah. We
Fuck.
don't need to jump the guy with words.
I'm crying now too. It's fine. He's gonna kill himself. I'm gonna go with him. So, sorry, that was a bit of a rant.
I mean, isn't that what this whole thing kind of is? It's just rants.
I feel like you say that like once every episode. But you're right. You're right. And I definitely do want to delve a lot more into that. I'm going to use bigger words now, but...
Whoa. Is that what you were Googling over there, is bigger words?
No, I was texting.
Oh, okay.
I want to delve a little bit more into the psychology of what I just broke down.
Can you even spell that word?
Not right now. Let me look it up and then I'll get back to you.
Starts with a P.
And I only say that because it's something that I struggle with, which is weird, also weird to me, because it's like, it's a non-relevant issue. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it's not something that's actively causing problems in my life. It's just something that I want to understand about me. I feel like as people, we are built for so much more.
See, but at the same time, you may feel like it's not actively causing problems in your life, but then once you start figuring out like where it's stemming from and stuff like that, you might realize where there are causes that, or there are parts of your life that it is causing problems in that you don't realize are actually connected to it.
Can you elaborate on that?
No.
Fucking no, I can't. I thought it sounded good.
It's just one of those, like you said, it doesn't seem like it's causing problems somewhere, but if it's something that you feel there's a need to find out where the root of that is or what's causing that in general, stuff like that, usually it's going to be linked to something else.
Let me twist that for you.
Okay.
Because you're using the word problems, which I did too, but maybe it's the driving factor in why I choose specific paths, and why I am so stubborn in the way I live my life.
So, if you're super stubborn in the way you live your life, could that not be a problem of the way that you live your life?
It could be, but...
So, then it could possibly be inherently causing problems in your life without you realizing it's causing problems in your life.
Boy, we're gonna this is gonna be a good conversation, because right now we're glass half full and glass half empty.
But that's what I'm getting at though. Is like
it could be causing problems, but the way I convey it sounds that way. But the way I live my life and the way I have been choosing my paths, I feel very, very, very confident about.
Just because you feel confident doesn't always mean it's the right path. Which mean I'm not saying that the path you're on is the wrong path.
I was like, is there something you want to tell me?
I'm just saying that, playing devil's advocate on the situation.
Sure.
There could be, even if you're still on the same path, we're heading out to the white tanks, but we're going to make that right instead of the left. The path to the right's a little bit smoother. That one to the left, it's doozy.
Well,
and so, you're still, at the end of the day, you're still going to get to the same destination. You're still going down the same path. You're still going through the white tanks, but it's a slightly nicer road. And so if your stubbornness is holding you on that left path and not letting you make that right to the smoother path, that's all I'm getting at.
We're speaking openly, right?
100%.
Okay. I was like, you must see something. Because I don't have the time for all this.
I'm not drunk enough.
Boy, I need another drink for this one, Justin.
Where is that whiteboard we talked about?
Yeah, son of a bitch. He knows some shit. No, I agree, though. I do definitely agree. Sometimes, and I actually had this conversation with one of my bosses today, too. I forced myself to open because he brought up being willing to help just glance over my finances and play the accountant role. Yeah. And I've been, over the last 2 years, I've been like, no, fuck that. No, I don't live outside my means. I'm fucking taking care of it. It's being stubborn as fuck, dude. And today I started to, and while I was talking to him, I caught myself and I was like, let me write it all down. Let me put it all down on paper on my laptop. And I want to come to you and I want to talk to you about a few things. And he goes, all I'm saying is let me put a pair of eyeballs on it and give you an opinion. Maybe there's something that can be shifted that you can't see right now. Yeah. And I was like...
Well, especially somebody from that level of success.
Well, I was like, fuck, we do the same thing when we work on our trucks, dude.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just need another set of eyeballs to see the situation from a slightly different point of view.
Well, even like so myself, going down the same road of finances. When I was selling cars, because I was in front of a computer all day, I had my finances so broke down to a fucking T.
Yeah.
I knew exactly where every single penny was owed to who. Since I don't sit in front of a computer all the time, because I rewrite my finances every couple of months, and I've been writing it out by hand, just throwing it on a piece of paper and, you know, being like, all right, cool. Like I've still got room. I've got room to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And then something finally clicked when I got this last paycheck, and I was like, I set aside so much fucking money for my last check just to make sure that I could cover my bills on this check, and I have $30 left to my name to last me 2 weeks. I was like, something's not fucking right here.
Right.
Let me sit down and figure this the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
So I sat down Saturday when I got back from Vegas, and I pulled my computer up and I redid everything on the computer the way that I feel the most confident.
Mm-hmm.
Redid all of it and was like, holy fuck. I don't have as much wiggle room as I thought I did.
Right.
Like, I'm not outside of my means. I am very fucking close,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not outside of my means.
And if you're, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're
I'm just gonna, before we get too much farther from where we started, I wanted to connect where we're at now to where we started, because we started that conversation with somebody insisting that their way is better and how you perceive that and things like that, and it being a negative conversation, right? Well, it just doesn't have to work no more.
I know, it's weird.
What I just did was I just turned those tables completely 180'd them and said that sometimes maybe you should take a step back, and if somebody's willing to offer your help, it's maybe not a shot at you, but it's maybe a shot at bettering whatever the situation might be.
Yeah, they're just trying to help you get better.
Right, and I think that's super important to have an open mind about, because yes, there are going to be situations that you don't need to be fucking verbally pushed by somebody that way. And yes, there's going to be situations where maybe you should just shut your fucking mouth and
it
take
also,
a little bit of a help. Like, it's not a personal attack all the time.
Well, it also would come from like the delivery. Like, if your boss was like, hey, we've had a couple of talks about, you're struggling or whatever. Do you mind if I look over it and try and help you figure out where you're missing it, or, what's going on where?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that comes across as a lot better than, hey, you don't know how to handle your own money. Do I need to figure it out for you?
Right.
Like
my favorite thing about
that's kind of like that same thing. We got two paths, but one's definitely a lot fucking nicer than the other, and we're trying to get to the same end goal there.
My favorite thing about talking to him and what he's done in the past, and I never found it to be. I often looked at it as annoying. Anytime I'd have a conversation with him, I needed to come with a solution.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how he rolled. And I get it. He's a businessman. He's fucking smart. He's not where he is for no fucking reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So today I was banking on the fact, like, okay, I'm going to go to him with my problem now because this is what I have to do. And if there is no solution, then I have to make changes. And I was banking on the fact that he would talk to me and him and I would come up with some kind of a solution. And we did. And I'm not going to get into that on here, but we came up with a helpful solution and possibly more things to look into. And it was so much, and like I said, I had to take a step back because my pride wanted to be like, hey, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
No, fuck you. I got this. My shit's my shit.
I'll figure it out.
But then I was like, just let him put eyes on it. And if I'm right, then I'm right. And if I have room for improvement, that's all it's going to be, is room for improvement. And it was something worth being a part of,
And one thing that I've realized, because like, especially like living with family like I do, people always, their first comment is like, well, you live with family, you should have all this extra money. And so they're like, well, where's all your money going? Where's all your money going? And so it's one of those where it starts making me feel bad and ashamed of the way that, like, the debt that I've gotten myself into. And so it makes it to where when people are trying to have that conversation to be able to truly help, it's like, no, I kind of feel ashamed of like.
Right. It makes you feel like shit.
Yeah, it truly makes you feel ashamed of the debt that you have, so you don't want people to know it. So it's like you keep that hidden. You're like, no, I don't want you to see my bills.
Fuck
Like,
no. You know, this is something. This is one of the harder points, and I mentioned it earlier. Is you get to a point where you don't want to explain yourself to people anymore. You just fucking don't. And when you get that kind of a judgment, all it makes you want to do is just say fuck off, dude.
Yep.
The other thing that I kind of didn't get to dabble in, but it's relevant to when people pull that shit that are in our life, or people want to be so insistent that they know how to fix your situation, they know how to navigate your life and what you're choosing, is be mindful when you're telling people how to navigate through their own issues. Be mindful that you don't fucking know every aspect of the situation.
Yeah, and
it is not your life. You don't know exactly everything that's happening.
Yeah, and just because something works for you,
right,
doesn't mean it's going to work for me.
Just because he lives with family, did you take the time to sit down and figure out how many bills he's making up for? Just if he lives with family, you might want to think about the fact that he might be paying bills for somebody else. You might want to think about the fact that he might be supporting somebody else. Physically, mentally, financially. You don't know the situation.
Exactly.
And these are things that I think, I'm like, when people want to be that insistent that they fucking have all the answers to your life, why don't you shut the fuck up and think about what you're saying?
Well, then, to put it into a different perspective, because it's one that gets brought up all the time, and especially
normalize that volume.
Especially like when it comes down to. And I always resort back to a lot of stuff with cars because that's what I know. I did it for 4 years. It's stuff that I know. You can't compare, like if you watch a car insurance commercial, they always try and say, oh, well, as little as $1 a day. Do you know who gets $30 a month insurance? Your 80-year-old grandmother with no negative driving record. And has been driving since she was 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Has been driving for literally almost 70 years without a single infraction. That's the person that gets $30 a month. And so, like, we've had this conversation recently in my family because my little sister is trying to find insurance. And all the quotes are coming in $300 plus a month.
Oof.
And people are like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. I only pay this. I only pay that. I'm like, yes, you're a 40-year-old fucking woman. She's a 17-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
That just got her driver's license.
You know, that this is such a vague topic, but that is so fucking relevant.
Like,
every single person's driving record, that is not good. Every single person's driving record is different. And you blow that up. Every single person's life is different.
100%.
So you don't get to gauge just by what you see why their number should be lower.
Just because, Warren Buffett made all of his wealth on investing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go and invest in the exact same shit that he invested in and make the same money.
Right. He started somewhere different than I can start.
He started way younger.
So.
And, I mean, the guy started investing before I was even ever fucking born.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to try and invest in the same shit now that he invested in, I'll never make the same returns. So for him to, if he were to try and do the same thing and be like, oh, well, I know how to fix your life. This is what you need to do. Invest into fucking Google or Apple or whatever you want to call it. It's like, okay, well, that's already done and blown up.
Yeah.
That's already stabilized.
You don't get to argue apples to oranges just because you think that you're fucking right.
Yeah.
And
that's one of those where, hey, this is what worked for me. Maybe look into it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the end all be all.
Every fucking day. Due to that note, we're going to have to close this out.
All right.
It was super funny because that's the first time it's ever done that, and you brought it up before we started.
What was that?
The battery's low.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, stop talking about shit.
It's probably because we're running the camera now. The test camera.
Actually might have something to do with it.
Yeah, it's going to pull more battery because that's being powered by it.
Great. Well, if that doesn't tell you we're working on shit, I don't know what else does. But, yeah, you know the drill. Like, click, follow, subscribe. please, please, please subscribe on Spotify for all the notifications of when we drop new episodes. It'll literally send you a text.
And not only that, share it with your friends. I mean, if you got friends out there that you think could enjoy this podcast, share it with them.
Share it with your friends. The idea of having as many different guests as we do is that I want you guys to find connection in some of them. You know, we have diversity and versatility for a reason, so keep sharing it. Spread the word. We love you.
Just like the bird. The bird is the word.
Oh my God, I'm out.